fulfilling his promises to Americans. And what executive order excites you the most, and what are some that the president still will need to sign?
Well, thank you for having me, Gina. I am excited about almost every one of the Trump executive orders. Certainly the state of emergency on the southern border, declaring cartel leaders to be international terrorists. Of course, ending this transgender reign of terror that our country has been subjected to for the past 4 years. But I'll tell you, I'm going to pick a more obscure one, a less prominent one, as my favorite, which is the one flag policy, that on our embassies and other international installations abroad, we will fly only the American flag, not the LGBT flag, the transgender flag, or the BLM flag. Could you imagine projecting to the world the idea that in Muslim countries, in Catholic countries, the idea that the LGBT left somehow has pride of place at our embassies? So, Trump is committed to bringing America back, making us great again, and restoring our pride in our country. And I think that the flag order is a symbol of that.
Congressman, it's my understanding that President Trump met with some of your colleagues on the Hill yesterday at the White House. First question, were you potentially part of that meeting? Secondly, what have you heard from your colleagues who may have been part of the meeting with President Trump in terms of what was discussed and in terms of truly setting the agenda now that President Trump is officially in office?
Yeah, well, I was not part of that meeting. We'll be discussing that, I believe, in our weekly conference meeting right after I get off of this interview. But I imagine a big part of that will be the president's plan to take America back, to renew the Trump tax cuts, so that to restore sane energy policy, because Americans are hurting economically, and at the same time to secure the border through the one big, beautiful reconciliation bill that President Trump has been talking about. I think that's the major policy that they'll be talking about, that they probably talked about yesterday. But I'll be briefed on that shortly.
Yeah. Congressman, turning to the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, of course, Elon Musk wasting no time in Washington. So President Trump issued that executive order to shut down the website for the office responsible for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and a lot more. And then Musk wrote, "It begins progress." Plus, by the way, we should note today, 5 p.m. Eastern, all federal DEI hires will be clearing out their desks because they're being put on administrative leave. That's a close of business today. It is a new dawn, a new day in America. Your reaction to that move?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I am a proud member of the DOGE caucus in the U.S. House of Representatives. I think that is absolutely clear. I think it was appropriate that Donald Trump was inaugurated, the 47th president of the United States, on the anniversary, on Martin Luther King Day, who had a dream that his 4 young children would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the quality of their character. And I believe that Donald Trump, in eliminating these, really racist, discriminatory DEI policies, is living up to that spirit of inclusion and unity that Dr. King embodied. So I couldn't be more pleased about that.
Congressman, I want to talk a little healthcare with you because, of course, I know you well as a doctor and from Missouri. And, I remember you and my husband being on opposite sides of the healthcare freedom issue. And now we see appointees like Kennedy, like RFK, coming in and saying, hey, it's a new day. We're going to oppose Big Pharma. We're going to oppose the AMA. We're going to oppose the APA. And we're going to go head to head to make Americans healthier. Have you had a change of heart on the medical establishment, Rockefeller-style medicine? And if so, what do you predict for RFK as he goes through this confirmation process, knowing full well how much money is behind the opposition to RFK?
Oh, Gina, I think a lot of us in the healthcare business, I'm a medical doctor, practiced for over 30 years, are rethinking a lot because, back in the day, we're talking in 2006, 2007, when Senator Loudon and I were in the legislature together. By and large, I thought the pediatric vaccines that were in place at the time were safe and effective. We thought that they had adequate review by the CDC and the FDA. But, Gina, I am rethinking all of that. And I think certainly we see that since I was a kid to today, the number of vaccines administered to our children has gone up dramatically. And at the same time, we see a dramatic increase in autism. And I think I think Robert Kennedy, although we may not agree on everything, I think asking the questions and not trusting big pharma, I think we saw that unquestioning trust in the medical establishment and big pharma can serve us very poorly. And I think the COVID reign of terror showed that to us more than anything.
Congressman, before we let you go, more Senate confirmation hearings and likely votes will happen this week. Obviously, all of this coming after Senator Marco Rubio was confirmed as Secretary of State. He's the first cabinet member confirmed. But that brings us to Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth. New allegations have been surfaced against him, according to an affidavit by senators. Hegseth's former sister-in-law apparently claims that he abused his second ex-wife. We're expecting a full vote by week's end on Pete Hegseth. Do you expect him to get confirmed even with all this new information coming out? And again, these are simply allegations.
Yeah, these are allegations. Look, we saw this with Clarence Thomas. We saw this with Brett Kavanaugh. And of course, we saw this with President Trump, that these allegations, all of a sudden, people, seem to make things up, charges that we've never heard of before at the 11th hour as someone is on the eve of confirmation, or in the case of President Trump, to try to prevent his election to the presidency. Look, everyone deserves to be heard and come forward if they have relevant information. But at this point, I believe that Pete Hegseth is the right person for the job, and I believe that the U.S. Senate will confirm him.
Congressman, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, please check out the hottest headlines from the RAV newsroom with the one and only T-Bates. And later, let them come home. Hamas intends to release 4 more female Israeli hostages after releasing these 3 last weekend. But there is a lot of time between now and Saturday. The American Sunrise is back in minutes.